Hello, I posted a video a few days ago about growing potatoes from store-bought potatoes. Hands up if you've watched that video. Okay, put your hands down. So, Charlotte, Jazzy, Saxon, all store-bought potatoes. And one thing I forgot to do, but I've been reminded by some comments I've had against that video, is to mention growth suppressant on store-bought potatoes. And so I'm going to put that right today with this video. Let's do another hands up. Hands up if you've heard of a volunteer in terms of potatoes. Okay, hands down. Some of you know what a volunteer is, some of you don't. Hands up if you're new to gardening, if you're going to start and try and grow vegetables for the first time. Okay, hands down. Right, you will enjoy this. Okay, rather than me prattle on about what a volunteer is, I'm going to cut you back to some video that I shot a couple of years ago where I take a couple of volunteers out of a bed that I'm growing potatoes in. I explain why in that video. Watch this video, then come back to me. The white pebbles that you can see mark the position of the seed potatoes. I hope you can see this, but we have two potatoes that have broken the surface, but neither of those potatoes that I planted this year. Those potatoes are volunteers. Those potatoes were last year's potatoes that I must have missed when I harvested the potatoes from this bed. So what are we going to do? We've got two potatoes for nothing if we leave them, two potato plants. Well, I don't know if you recall, but when I made the original video planting these potatoes, I did say that I'd put 15 potatoes in this year, and that last year I'd put 18 potatoes in, and I'd reduced that by 3 because I thought the bed was a bit overcrowded. Now if all these 15 potatoes come through and I leave those two volunteers in there, perhaps this bed's going to be overcrowded again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove those volunteers. Let's do it. Okay, so as you can see, this volunteer is between these two potatoes in this short stitch. So if I dig this out, it shouldn't affect this seed potato under this stone, and it shouldn't affect the seed potato grown in that station. That's the theory. Let's excavate. Now, because I didn't plant this potato, I don't know what to expect here. It could be a small potato that started to grow. It could be a big potato. It could be as big as a cricket ball. It could be as small as a golf ball. I've no idea until we get this out. This is a bit like an archaeological dig. Oh, I can see the potato. Here we go. There it is. You can see the potato. That's it. So we're going to put this to one side for a moment, and we're going to do the other volunteer. Okay, this one's between potato sets. Let's see what we've got here. That one, incidentally, the previous one is about as big as a golf ball. I can already see some roots here, so I think this one's fairly close to the surface as well. There it is. And that one's about as big as a marble. So had we let these two potatoes grow, they weren't likely to make much other than to help overcrowd the bed. So I'm glad we've taken them out. Okay, so that was the volunteers. Where's this leading? Well, as I said in the clip that you've just watched, I didn't plant those volunteers. They're potatoes that I missed when I dug the original potatoes up. So if I dug the original potatoes up at the back end of summer, beginning of autumn, and then the following year I planted the potatoes that were marked with those pebbles, how long has it taken for those volunteers to show face, for those volunteers to grow? How long has it taken? It's got to be 6 months or more. So why didn't they grow a bit sooner? Why has it taken them 6 months before they started to grow? Well, it's taken them that long because potatoes have an inbuilt protection against growing at the wrong time of year and in the wrong place. The wrong time of year to grow would be through autumn and winter when it's cold, and that's when those potatoes were left in the ground. I missed them. And so they have an inbuilt mechanism for recognizing when's the best time to grow, and that wasn't the best time to grow, and so they didn't grow. And I think that inbuilt mechanism, I think we can probably refer to that as dormancy. They stayed dormant for all those months. They didn't make any attempt to grow. Then in the spring of the following year, when that video was shot, they started to grow. They knew it was time to grow. The conditions were right. Potatoes will not grow unless the conditions are right. Do you follow that? I hope I've explained that okay. They just won't grow unless the conditions are right. So those potatoes had been in the ground, 6 months plus, and didn't attempt to grow until the conditions were right. Now, they hadn't been sprayed with any growth inhibitor. They had their own growth inhibitor, a natural growth inhibitor. It's called dormancy. They stayed dormant. These potatoes are now dormant. Why would you spray them with growth inhibitor? There's no need to. These potatoes don't want to grow right now. They know the conditions are not right. They know the conditions are not right when I put these back in the fridge because it's too cold for them to grow, to want to grow. They just don't want to grow. And that dormancy that they possess will stop them growing. So why would you spray anything with growth inhibitor? These guys have never been sprayed with growth inhibitor. There's no need to. There's no need to. And farmers and wholesalers probably store these things for months on end, and provided the conditions are right, they don't want to grow. The potato just does not want to grow. Right, I hope you enjoyed this video. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you an example of a potato that's still in the ground that doesn't want to grow. Let me just clean these off the table, and let me get one of my water buckets up here. Okay, this is one of my water buckets filled with soil. It's had a potato grown in this water bucket, and if I look at this ticket, it tells me I planted it on the 11th of May. Okay, so probably 4 months after I planted this potato, it died off. It died off. And this potato was ready to harvest then, but what I'm actually doing is I'm hoping to keep the potatoes that are in this bucket in the bucket until Christmas, and that's when I'm going to harvest them. So there are potatoes in this bucket now that I could harvest, but I'm deliberately not harvesting them. So if you like, they're a volunteer in there. They could grow. I can't stop them growing. They could grow if they wanted to grow, apart from the fact that I'm keeping this bucket now in my garage where it's cold and dark, and the conditions aren't right. So they're actually stored in the soil. You know, farmers do that. They used to do that years ago. And if you fill this bucket, I know there are potatoes in there. So let's excavate down here and see if we can find one of those potatoes. Now this potato, if we... Oh, I was going to see if we find one. Blimey. Let me just clear away around there. Oh, the redskins as well. So that's one of the potatoes in this bucket that I haven't harvested. Now that potato, if it wanted to, it could start to grow, could it not? There's no growth inhibitor on there, is there? So why doesn't it grow? Because it's the wrong time of the year. Because they've got that inbuilt dormancy, they don't want to grow. So hey, when people talk about growth inhibitor on potatoes, personally I think it's a load of mumbo jumbo, and that's the reason why I'm putting to one side store-bought potatoes to grow next year. They won't chit, they won't start growing if they're stored properly, and that's easily enough done, but they will start growing, and they will grow into fine potato plants next year. And what I'll do is I'll now put a link to a video on this table that'll let you go and watch other videos if you choose to do that, that show me harvesting potatoes, the majority of which are store-bought potatoes. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.